What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Nicole Lynn Gray. It's still the inaugural week of my podcast, and it's Thursday. So it's time for Thirsty Thursday. Now, many of you may be familiar with the term thirsty as it's used in urban vernacular, but for those of you who aren't, thirsty is defined as an adjective meaning dehydrated, starved for attention, or simply dry. Now, if you like me, you can't stand a thirsty. Shut your mouth. So let's pour them a drink, shall we? Now wait, before we give them this drink, I feel it only appropriate that we evaluate how thirsty these people really are. That way, they get all they need. So, this week's episode is dedicated to the people utilizing their time and energy to hate on Jay-Z, an entertainer, for signing a major entertainment deal with an entertainment company. Hell, I'm trying to figure out when it became taboo for a black man to secure a legal bag. Shoot, now that I think about it, they may need 2 drinks. Let's get to the business. Since it's still the inaugural week and some of you are just getting to know me, I think it's appropriate to take a little time and share with you one of my pet peeves, which is painting issues with bright lines using broad strokes. I see a lot of that going on with the Jay-Z Entertainment deal, but before we get into that, I'd like to just share with you a few reasons why this practice is so detrimental. First, bright lines are distracting, and they're normally drawn around hot button issues like politics, race, gender, and in this case, social injustice. Now, the lines serve normally to separate the yays from the nays, good versus evil, right versus wrong, and they necessarily create an adversarial environment which turns into a battle of who's right and who's wrong, and it often leaves the real issue out in the lurch. Secondly, broad strokes either conflate or exaggerate the issues. Imagine outlining a quarter-sized circle with a large paintbrush. If you follow the line, you'll inevitably get paint either in the inside of the circle, effectually making it smaller, or you'll have paint that covers an unintended area outside of the circle, thus making it bigger. Thirdly, details are often lost with broad strokes. Imagine an artist's attempt to paint a Shar-Pei, you know, the wrinkly dog, with a large paintbrush. It would be difficult for the artist to render the intricacies of the wrinkles and folds of the dog without using fine lines. Lastly, the broader the stroke used to paint the issue, the greater the divide between those who fall on either side of the line. Think of a two-way street. Now, think of the lane dividers versus medians or islands. If I were standing on one side of the lane divider and someone else on the other side, even though we're on opposite sides, we could still reach out and touch one another. Not so if we were divided by a median. So maybe you can see now why it really bugs me when people use broad strokes to draw bright lines around hot button issues. Still not so clear? Let me give you another example. There's one thing to say, man, my car is really raggedy. And there's another to say, My car doesn't work well because the gas light is broken or the speedometer doesn't work. The first way, the problem could be anything from a speedometer to a bad transmission or motor. The second way, you know exactly what's going on so you can zero in on the problem and fix it. When you conflate issues, no one knows what's going on. And a lot of times that leads to just misguided angst and anger, which brings us to the folks that are big mad at Jay-Z for cutting an entertainment deal. Let's get them that drink, shall we? Now, before we dive right in, I want to take a minute for those of you who are not really aware of the conflict that's going on in the hip hop community right now, swirling around the entertainment deal that Jay-Z recently struck with the NFL. For those of you who are unaware, 2 weeks ago, Jay-Z, the hip hop mogul who has long since made his way into the mainstream, signed a long-term deal with the NFL to be its live music entertainment strategist. Now, it's unsure what that role actually entails, but from the looks of it, and from what I gathered from the press conference that Jay-Z and Roger Goodell held to announce the partnership, it seems as if Jay-Z and Roc Nation will be responsible for helping the league to choose music acts for the Super Bowl and other league events. Now, in that press conference, there was also mentioned that in the role of live music entertainment strategist, that Jay-Z would also have input into the league's social justice campaign, which is called Inspire Change. Now, Inspire Change is an initiative launched by the NFL in January of this year, showcasing the collaborative efforts of players, owners, and the league to create positive change in communities across the country. The league describes Inspire Change as a comprehensive platform for social change that includes community activation, grassroots funding, and new nationwide programming, digital content, and social media support. The initiative was designed to allow the Players Coalition, NFL teams, the league office to work together to continue to support programs and initiatives that reduce barriers to opportunity. The newness or the freshness about this particular initiative is that the focus is on 3 priority areas: education and economic advancement, police and community relations, and criminal justice reform. The initiative is part of a 7-year social justice partnership agreed to last year between the NFL and the Players Coalition. The NFL estimates that the initiative will raise in excess of $89 million to go towards this social justice platform. Now that brings us back to the folks that are mad at Jay-Z. This brings me back to my pet peeve: conflating issues. Because when you ask these people why they're mad, the answers vary, but they are some variation of the fact that they feel that Jay-Z's acceptance of the deal is somehow a betrayal of Colin Kaepernick and tangentially a denunciation of his stance against social injustice. The lines that connect Colin Kaepernick's protest and Jay-Z's entertainment deal are as tenuous as they sound. One really has nothing much to do with the other. And unfortunately, conflating the issues in the way that it has been done over the past couple of weeks really misses out on the opportunity for greater to be done in the area of social justice reform when you have two heavy hitters who both have a platform, both have the stroke, and both who can command some change in the area. There are several issues at play here that I feel, if teased out just a bit, will ease some of the angst that is being felt by some who are now looking to boycott Jay-Z's music because they feel he's a traitor. Let's start with issue 1. Colin Kaepernick's personal choice to protest social injustice at work. Okay, wait. Hands down, hyperactive activists. I'm all for a good protest, but before you go protesting at work, let me just drop a little knowledge. First off, the First Amendment, which confers our right to protest as part of our right to free speech, reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free speech thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. The part of the amendment most relevant to our discussion is that Congress shall make no law abridging the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. That's your right to protest. Note, the amendment says Congress shall make no law. So, the First Amendment prohibits the federal government from enacting any laws that would infringe on your rights to free speech, a free press, and freedom to protest. Now, the 14th Amendment in the Due Process Clause also makes the First Amendment applicable to states. There is nothing, however, in the Constitution that makes the amendment applicable to private employers like the NFL. In fact, private employers are not obliged to uphold the Constitution. So you see, as noble a gesture as Colin Kaepernick's kneel was in protest of social injustice, the NFL was not under any obligation to uphold his right to freely protest, because that right is only protected from interference by the government. Now, how the NFL chose to handle the situation is separate and apart from any obligation that they have to allow players to protest at work. They simply do not have an obligation to do that. Now, in the past, when I've made a similar statement that employers are not obliged to uphold the Constitution, that's generally when the conversation has turned to, what about the collusion? Well, the collusion I won't touch on in this podcast, because to me, the collusion is case closed as settled by Colin Kaepernick and the NFL. So there's really not much to talk about more about the collusion, because it's all wrapped up in a deal. Which brings me to my second point. Now, the NFL's choice not to maintain Colin Kaepernick's protest of the anthem does not necessarily mean that they do not support social justice reform. Now, I am of no expertise to speak to that particular issue other than what I've come to know of the Inspired Change initiative. However, I will say that private companies are in the business of making money, and that's literally the bottom line. And when issues arise that impact their ability to make money, they shut them down. Giving the NFL the benefit of the doubt, I will say that there is a great chance that their position had everything to do with their bottom line and very little to do with Colin Kaepernick's position about the anthem. I know some of you may be saying that the NFL was complicit and tone deaf to the issues of social injustice, and that the Inspire Change initiative was a knee-jerk reaction to quell the uproar of black folks. Well, guys, private employers do not have to do anything that they don't want to do. And we see it time and time again. They don't have to invest their money in any particular cause, any particular anything. Private companies are in the business of making money. So, to the NFL's defense, that it invests its money in initiatives to affect social change, I applaud them. Keep the money coming. Now to Jay-Z and his entertainment deal. There's not really much I can say here other than kudos, brother, on securing another legal bag. Another long legal bag at that. Now, I know this is where many make the argument that Jay-Z already has tons of money. In fact, he has recently become a billionaire. But my response to that argument is that more money, more power. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what that argument means, that he already has enough money. And in the words of the great Negro poets Wu-Tang Clan, cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. Dollar, dollar bill, y'all. And if past is prologue, Jay-Z has shown us that he uses his money in a way that has an impact on social justice and other humanitarian efforts. So for all of my folks who are big mad, I challenge you. Have a drink, calm your nerves, and let the deal manifest. Then maybe you could take all of the time and energy that you're expending protesting the NFL, talking about Jay-Z on social media, and skipping around your playlist just to get in a 30-minute workout, and actually use it to think of ways you can impact social justice reform. This is a novel idea, right? Y'all, I'm out. Thank you all for joining me again. I can't believe it's already Thursday. I almost don't want the week to be over. But tomorrow is Friday, and I know we're all excited, and it is Bite Me Friday. So I hope you guys will join me again tomorrow as we wrap up the inaugural week of Nicole Lynn Gray podcast. And as always, for more information about what's going on with Nicole Lynn Gray, just visit NicoleLynnGray.info. All right, you guys. Hope you'll join me tomorrow. As always, it's your girl, Nicole Lynn Gray, signing off. To be clear, # the gray area.